All right, welcome. It is another episode of the Six Man Tag Podcast right here on the Not Stupid Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mike. Joining me, as always, it's CJ.
Hey, what's up, everybody? CJ Doyen, aka Craig Francis, back in the day. And of course, up next, we got the other guy who's always with us, my main man, Skylar Strange.
Don't tell me you don't have a better intro in you, Brucey. I was there.
No.
Okay. While you were struggling to do a couple more tricep extensions, I was doing chest press down in the Viet Cong. I was there.
Say, you should show me the documents.
Show me the documents.
Thank you for that. And holy shit, we have a guest. This man is a member of the Righteous. He is one third of the Ring of Honor six-man, fittingly enough, six-man tag team champions. Welcome to the pod. It's Dutch.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here, buddy.
This is awesome. Yeah.
Am I your first guest?
You are our first ever official guest.
It is 9 years in the making. We've not been doing this for 9 years. We did it from we did it in like 2013 and said let's run it back like a few months ago.
Here we are.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, I'm glad to be your first guest. It's an honor and a privilege.
Yes.
The honor is ours, trust me.
No, for sure. I think when we started this, we're like, hey, if we ever had a guest, that'd be awesome. And to have just someone like Dutch on the show, this is fucking awesome.
Hey, I try.
Man, where do we start? So, I mean, listen, Dutch, I just want to start right off. How did the Dutch character kind of come to be? Because we'll get into the past stuff, a little bit later, but how did Dutch, I feel like everything was always pretty lighthearted, and then to go to almost this dark side out of nowhere, seemingly.
It's a character that I've always wanted to do. And this was actually supposed to happen a few years ago with Ring of Honor, but the pandemic happened and that put everything on hold for a while. But me and Vinny, or Vincent, we've been friends for a while and obviously share the same interests and everything. And yeah, like I said, this was supposed to happen, I think, maybe it was supposed to happen earlier than that. Maybe December of 2019, I believe. Yeah, December 2019 it was supposed to happen. But I couldn't make it, and then COVID happened, obviously, and then they had a guy. Hold on one second. My dog's just barking. Idiot over there. No, away. Come here. Yeah. So the guy Bateman in the group actually replaced me, and which now, I mean, the three of us together, I feel are, we gel very well together. And I'm glad that he's there. But then they had this other guy, Chuckles, who didn't really quite fit in. He was like a clown that didn't know how to, I guess, work the gimmick, really. He was just kind of like this goofy-looking clown who looked kind of creepy, but didn't know how to pull off creepy, I guess.
And he got a twisted doink.
Yeah, I mean, he attempted, but it didn't work at all. So he quickly got outed, and then they asked me again if I wanted to come back. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I need a change. So, I accepted. And then, again, I was supposed to debut Final Battle 2020, but got pushed back because of COVID, obviously, again. So, but it is what it is. And now we're here and I'm fired. So there's that.
Wow.
That was something I actually wanted to address because
I guess that answers the question we were probably going to get to at some point.
You're one third, because we know math on this podcast, of the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, obviously now owned by Tony Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that leave you? Out of curiosity.
So we're not entirely sure because we're the only title holders that aren't, that still hold the original titles.
Right.
We have talked to some people within AEW. There's just so much going on right now that they don't know where to put us, I guess.
Yeah, Tony Khan goes on hiring sprees.
Yeah, so there's just a lot going on, and I mean, something will happen eventually. I just don't know when or where. So, damn it, go away.
Don't worry, two of us have kids.
Yeah,
It's
we
like
don't
having a dog.
know. What's that?
I said, don't worry, two of us have
Yeah,
kids.
no,
It's like having a dog.
Okay. I have no kids. He's just
We're
very
live, pal.
He's quiet all day, and then of course, he's whiny. Anyway, so yeah, we don't know what's happening. It's very confusing, especially Vinny is with Impact right now for foreseeable future. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. Every day is news to me. So
I was gonna say, considering how badly AEW needs six-man trio titles,
exactly.
You guys would be perfect just to come in, wreck
Already-
shit, and be like,
Already
yeah,
holding the belts.
Storyline.
I was like,
Tony, listen to us.
Yeah,
Story
I
writes
don't even
itself.
care if they bring us in, we lose immediately. I just want to be on television.
Absolutely. Oh man. And speaking of which, I mean, you have had at least some decent television exposure. Not just there's a whole bunch of the indie streams out on YouTube and all the netherworld of wrestling out there. But you've actually gotten on ROH television. You've I just actually watched your match against Matt Taven just yesterday, actually, in preparation for the show.
Oh, there you go.
And I watched you beat the hell out of him, and you got to whip him around the ring for about like a few minutes there. And
yeah,
but I gotta say, as Skylar already alluded to, I do kind of love like the whole kind of character switch. And now with you getting on TV like that, hopefully you get some more TV exposure in the future. How do you feel like you feel better, obviously, running the gimmick that you're running now, like the character that you have now? You said it was something you wanted to do for a while. Do you think that that hopefully with future experiences you'll get to keep that same character going? You want to remain Dutch wherever you end up going to next?
I think so, and especially now, like when I was first brought in, it was kind of just like your typical stoic guy that doesn't speak, and which I didn't want in the first place. But that's kind of, when you get brought into something in that capacity, that's kind of like what you got to do. But it's it's evolving, and recently we've been doing some indie stuff where it's almost like my old character with Team Tremendous kind of blending in with this. So it's kind of like a creepy, funny, just psychotic character it's developing into right now. So we have some plans and some things that we're going to record and everything that will hopefully come out good. In my mind, they look good, but 9 times out of 10 when we record them, it's like, never mind, don't put this out there.
That's like most of our episodes.
Yeah. You also, Skylar and I are a couple of musicians, so I think we can relate when it comes to that as well. Yeah, it always sounds good in your head, and then once you actually get it, you hear it. Maybe I don't want to share this yet.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, dude, I hit play on these things like in my car just for a quick, and I absolutely hate my voice. So it's like I feel like that's just how it goes with any like medium, I guess. Most people don't like watching themselves back or listening to themselves. And I can say for me, like I hear myself, I'm like, I sound like that. Like,
yeah, I know. I don't like watching my matches back. I have to, just to kind of like, okay, I could do this better, I could do that better. But sitting there watching myself, it's just like, oh, like what a fat piece of shit. And you suck.
Man, I can tell you, man, I've been I'm a big man myself. I was a big man wrestler my whole life. Yeah, that's a big surprise.
What?
Didn't quite have the height like you got. So you're a big boy there, but I was always hefty dude. So I can get what you're saying, man. Watching my matches, I was always trying to pick on things I can do better, and usually number one on the list was get in shape.
Yeah. Which I have yet to do after 13 years. So.
I gotta say though, for watching some of your matches, for a big guy, you can move.
Oh, thank you.
You were pretty damn quick.
Absolutely. Another one of the matches we all checked out, I think, because we were sharing stuff with each other this whole time. The Young Bucks match with Team Tremendous. I'm sorry, I need to get one Chris Farley show quote out. Yeah, remember that time that you wrestled the Young Bucks? That was awesome. That was awesome. But yeah, we were all, I think all of us were blown away by that match, and just, dude, like you can move. You can...
Thank you. That was a fun match. So there's another match out there, which is it's a triple. No, it's a 6-man.
We watched that one too, I think.
Oh, you watched that too, yeah. So
with Kevin Steen as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that one I like a little better. But the Young Bucks match, that was the third match we had that day.
Wow.
So it was kind of like the match to me, I think still came out pretty well. But I wish that we would have, a little more time to like kind of put together something a little better than what we did. I think what we had with the time that we had to, put that match together, like I said, I think it was fine. But, if we had, an hour or two to put that together and another 10 minutes added on to the match, I think that match could have been, a lot better. But it was, like I said, still good. It was one of my favorite moments, though, beating them and then having them, putting us over at the end of the match and stuff like that.
That was really cool.
That's what led to us going to PWG, I believe, too, that match.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And just that in general, like sorry, CJ.
No, go ahead. Go.
Cutting you off there.
No.
I knew it was one of those, we're doing research. I'm like, all right, I knew the rest of the Young Bucks. Let me look this up. Like, I didn't know if the Young Bucks were still like in their like almost like TNA status of not so much this like top tier tag team yet, but I had no clue. They were like yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, oh, they wrestled like it was Bullet Club Young Bucks at the time. Like, they're on top. Like it was like it was like a reminder when I look it up. Like it's insane and just awesome, just really awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely an awesome experience and everything. And yeah, Beyond Wrestling, I mean, I give them majority of the credit for giving us the matches that we were able to have, because I mean, they gave us some big names quite often, and I feel like without having those matches, we probably wouldn't have gotten as far as we did, so.
And how does that come to be? Because I guess let's go way back. Bobby Dutch, FCW. Is that your start? Like, was like that like a WWE, like, hey, we like this guy, let's sign him? Did you, like, how much experience did you have before FCW?
Not much. So I was trained by Tony DeVito, who was in the Baldies back in ECW.
Oh, ECW, Tony DeVito. Okay, yeah. Sorry, wrong guy.
And he lived down the street from me, and he had a ring. So right after I graduated high school, I started training, but it was outside. So we could only do it when the weather was nice. And I was also getting ready to go to college, so I could only do it during the summers. I think I had my first match in, I think it was November of 2007, I believe. And then sporadic matches here and there, battle royals, 70-man tags, those types of matches. And then I started working.
Back up a second.
I don't think we could just blow past 70-man tag.
Oh yeah,
It's not that I don't believe that happened. It's just how did that work?
No, I mean, it's just kind of like, let's just get all the ticket sellers on the show. So instead of giving them a battle royal, let's just put them all on the apron and have them tag in from time to time.
Can everyone even fit on that apron?
We made it work.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So I started getting regular bookings for this company, FTW, down in Long Island. And
Long Island.
that was late 2009. And again, I was going to school in Albany, so I really, just could get down there from time to time. But then I saw there was a WWE tryout happening at OVW for $100. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Might as well. It's $100 and I just have to get myself out there. So I did. The tryout was 2 days long, literally did nothing, and they hired me. I don't know how or why, but yeah. The tryout consisted, day one was they broke you up into 4 groups, and group 1, you just did like 45 minutes of drills in the ring. Group 2, you did 45 minutes of chain wrestling on the outside. Group 3, you just go watch matches on video. And then 4th group, you cut a promo. And then day 2, you're in an 8-man tag. You have 30 seconds of shine, 30 seconds of heat. And that's it. And tryout ended. I even left early because I was like, I got to catch my flight. Bumped into John Laurinaitis on the way out, introduced myself. Didn't hear anything for about a month or so. So I kind of just figured that, since I didn't do anything, they weren't going to hire me. And I worked at a bar up in Albany, so I'd be getting home at 6, 7 in the morning every day. And I got a phone call about 8 a.m. from a Connecticut number that I just, didn't answer. So they called me back again, like 2 hours later, again, didn't answer. Left me a voicemail. So I'm like all pissed off. So I wake up and listen, and it's like, oh, this is so-and-so from WWE. Give us a call back as soon as possible, please. I'm like, holy shit. But I just thought that I think Raw was going to be in Albany at that, like in the next few weeks. So I just assumed that they were going to, bring me in for like extra work and stuff. But no, they offered me a 3-year contract and moved down to Tampa 2 months later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Well, that's quite the move. Let's go from shitty New York to Tampa, Florida. Yes.
which is ironic given that we're wearing Cannibal Corpse stuff, and that's exactly what happened.
Absolutely.
Oh man, that's incredible.
So you get there. I mean, and this is just me. I know the people that come from I almost said FTW, FCW. What you get there, and then what's the training like there? Like, I feel like we've seen with different documentaries an inside look at what like NXT looks like and the Performance Center is now today. Yeah. What is FCW compared to that? Because obviously I've heard the comparisons of just
I mean, it was just a garage with 2 rings. And they had like an area where they would have house shows every Thursday. That was like the arena and everything. It was, nice setup, very small though. But yeah, it was 2 rings in a garage that had no air conditioning, sometimes a working toilet. Nothing compared to the 12 rings that they have at the Performance Center now, where they have different types of rings to do different types of things in. No, we just had 2, and the training was rough. It definitely whipped you into shape. We would do this one thing called man in the middle, which is you're in the middle of the ring for sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes an hour, where you're just running spots with people over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And that it blows you up real quick. But I mean, in the long run, like, it helps with your cardio. It also helps with you being able to come up with something, a quick spot on the fly if you get lost during your match. And yeah, it gives you good ring awareness because you have to be in the middle of the ring the whole time. But yeah, I mean, the training, aside from that, we had, like different pinning drills. But most of the time it was just calling matches on the fly. Like, the coaches would just pick 2 people, all right, go in the ring and have an 8-minute match. So, and that, to me, that's how you learn how to wrestle, because when, like I said, if you get lost out there and either of you know how to call matches on the fly, then you look like you don't know what you're doing, and you're just kind of deer in headlights. So being able to call matches without discussing them with them beforehand is, to me, the best way to train and learn how to wrestle.
It's so funny, man, because like as you're saying all of this stuff, I'm getting flashbacks like to the broken down garage with the not working toilet and the no heat, and wrestling in the middle of summer, doing 2 shows a Saturday in a warehouse with no air conditioning, in August. It's brutal. But it's funny, man, because like I was kind of trained the same way. Like when I wrestled for a company called Old Time Wrestling, which was also the school. That was where we got trained and everything. But we ran shows every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started there, things kind of changed later on. Like I was there for 5 or 6 years, and towards the end, obviously we all shared a locker room and stuff. But when I first got there, the faces stayed where the faces, the heels stayed with the heels, and you could not plan your matches.
Yeah.
So there would just be a poster in each locker room with the list of all the matches. You couldn't go talk to that person and plan anything out. You just had to go out there and work a 10-minute, 8-minute, 4-minute match all on the fly, depending on where you were on the card, obviously. But that was how we learned. That was literally how I started, like the first, I want to say like 2 years of my career.
Yeah. Like I said, that's the best way to learn. I feel like a lot of newer people coming in now getting trained are learning the basics and then learning moves, which moves is the easy part. The stuff that happens in between, that's the stuff you need to know. That's the hard part, But the moves, anybody could do anything, really, That's the thing. I could do. I tried doing a Canadian destroyer once, knew I could do it. So I was like, okay, nobody else my size is doing this. It's a really easy move to do. So I'll just start doing this. Or diving. I just decided, I'm going to dive one day and see how that works out. Again, really easy, knock on wood. Haven't gotten hurt doing it yet, but no, that's not true. I have. Haven't gotten severely injured. I haven't gotten injured doing it yet.
Big difference.
Yeah. But yeah, the moves are the easy part. The stuff in between, the wrestling, that's the hard part, and that's the stuff you really, really need to learn.
It's actually just real quick back on Old Time Wrestling. Just want to see if you know this guy. I imagine he's not a very well liked guy in the locker room, but my old trainer there, the guy who pretty much ran the day to day there, was Brian Johnson.
Like the Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor, yeah. Brian Johnson.
Oh man, I love Brian Johnson.
Well, next time you see him, tell him CJ said, or Craig Francis said hi.
Oh, I absolutely will. Oh, that's great.
He was the guy who pretty much trained me. He was. I had Ed Atlas was the original trainer. He ran the school, and then Brian Johnson kind of took over the training after like my first like couple years there, and I pretty much learned everything I knew from him and some of the other better guys that we had on the roster that trained on Saturdays. But Brian Johnson was usually there almost every Saturday drilling us.
Yeah, I remember one of the first conversations I had with him. He told me that he had been wrestling for like 17 years. I'm like,
he started as a teenager.
Yeah, I'm like, how old were you? He's like, I was like 13. I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense then.
Yeah, he I remember when before I started training, I have a friend Andy who is a pro wrestler, Andy Bivian. So if you ever see him on an indie show, he'll treat you real good. Tell him you know me.
Last name?
Bivians, Andy Bivians. Actually, I think oh my gosh, I think he changed his gimmick name. He's going by Andrew Gibson. He changed his gimmick name like 3 or 4 times. I can't remember what he's going by now. I'll have to ask him, but his name's Andy Bivians. He's
okay.
Nice guy. He was my tag partner for a long time.
Oh, nice.
But before I started training, I went to go see one of his shows. And Brian Johnson was there, and he was doing like a pretty boy gimmick at the time, and came out with the Ric Flair robe and the like looking at all the girlies want to be with me, blah blah. This kid, and I'm like, this kid is like 15 years old. What the hell is going on?
Yeah. Because that's the thing, is like he's younger than I am, and I was like, you've been doing this 17 years, like what? Like, yeah, he's a good guy though. It's he's good. too. He's
Absolutely.
really, really good.
Yeah.
And he just needs to get out there more and needs to get his face out there because he could be a good contributor to indie wrestling right now. You know, when it's I'm not going to say it's indie wrestling is dying or dead. It's far from that, but it's definitely not what it was, especially with, you know, all these companies popping up, just swiping up everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a guy that really people need to know more about Brian Johnson.
I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. He was a fantastic trainer. He's a fantastic wrestler. If anybody's is listening to the show and you haven't checked out Brian Johnson yet, check him out too. But yeah, and then he knows his stuff, man. He's a smart guy. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I remember
he really
would
knows
wrestle
his stuff.
He would wrestle all the big time guys that would show up in like OTW. It was like,
oh, he always got
wrestling?
the rub.
Brian
Yeah,
Johnson.
he always got the rub. Always.
Brian gets the rub.
I mean, that's what happens when you're,
suppose.
you know, yeah, that's pretty much what happens when you're running the place and, you know, like the best wrestler on the roster. That's not to knock some of the other guys too. We had a lot of good talent on our roster, but Brian Johnson he knows his stuff.
So I kind of want to ask about I guess going into Detective Bill Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Two things. One, where exactly was your jurisdiction? And two, what was the influence for that gimmick? I'm getting a lot of like Ray Trailer vibes when I was watching.
Yeah, that's pretty much me in general. It's just everything Big Boss Man.
Highly underrated.
No, absolutely.
That was my finish, by the way. I saw every time he threw that Boss Man Slam. That was my finish when I was wrestling, and I was just like, man, that's awesome. You did it. You did it better than me, though. I mean, I threw a good one, but you throw a real good one, man. I mean, it also helps when you're like a foot taller than me, probably.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, no, he's yeah. I mean, well, I was at a precinct 69 in Manhattan, so that's that's where I resided. But yes, definitely a big influence. And I remember one of the first few weeks I was down in FCW, Dusty Rhodes pulled me aside and was like, I can't do a Dusty impression, so I'm not even
Listen here, baby.
Everybody's got a Dusty impression
going on here, brother, man.
I'm terrible with impressions, so I'm not even but yeah, he pulled me aside, and because he was the one responsible for getting Big Boss Man his break. And he's like, I see what I saw in Ray Trailer back before he was wrestling. I see that exactly in you. And like, that's what I want to see in you. And that was my plan, was to kind of do something similar to that in the first place. But the higher ups in the office would send me emails every week of, okay, we want you to do this. Dye your hair blonde, switch to trunks, wear a vest, get the bull rope, you know, try to be a big, loud, obnoxious Texan from New York. That's pretty much what they told me to do, which wasn't working.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but yeah. So when Team Tremendous came about, I mean, obviously you take one look at my outfit, and it's just, you know, Big Bubba Rogers, pretty much. So definitely a big influence on not only my look, my gut, and my wrestling too. He also can move. He's a
absolutely.
There's a great match. One of my favorites of his. It's him and Stan Hansen against Kenakabashi and Masawa in Japan from 1994. I believe it's on YouTube, but the first like 5 minutes of that match, the stuff that he pulled out, I try to use in most of my matches now. So it's very good. It's very good.
That's the Boss Man. Boss Man was definitely. I agree with everybody. I think we all agree, way underrated, man. But
will you ever hang yourself?
I've never
from
seen
Hell in a Cell?
that match.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, well,
that's actually how I want to go out. Actually,
hanging from Hell in a Cell. All right, Vince, book it.
We can book it for the 6ix9ine show.
I want to do that, and I also want to invade somebody's father's funeral and attach their casket to the bumper of my car and drive off with their father's dead body. I'd love to do that as well.
Oh my
At least once.
At least once.
So I have to ask, what was going through your mind when you were in a Mexican standoff with Officer Colt Cabana and Dick Justice?
Well, that was quite the bit, I guess.
I saw that and I was just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, so that match, obviously, just no wrestling at all, just comedy the whole time. I actually think that match is the only match that is banned from any Beyond DVD, or it was taken off of streaming sites. Not because of the Mexican standoff we had, is because somebody accidentally started a rape chant in the crowd.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there was a point, I think, where Colt Cabana was frisking somebody, and somebody in the crowd started to chant rape, and more people in the crowd started to chant rape, and it just caught on. And I remember standing on the apron like, this match is never going to see the light of day.
Oh my
Colt Cabana got to be standing there just like, I've been through some weird shit, but what the hell's this?
What year was that exactly?
But that was the thing. Colt, as soon as we went to the back, was like, yeah, we can't. You either have to edit out all the crowd
audio
footage, or we can't have this. And I wish it was out there, because the finish of the match is one of my favorites of all time. So we're using the finger guns, obviously, throughout the match and everything. And the end was Dick Justice just gets so fed up with everything that he actually pulls out a real gun.
What?
What?
Oh, come on.
What?
Yeah.
Did he hold him up at gunpoint for the 3 counter or something? What?
No, he pulls out a real gun and then gets rolled up 1, 2, 3.
That's hilarious.
It's the best.
Oh my gosh.
I'm mad at this person for starting that chant now because I want to.
That's like the dude who caught the home run at the Cubs game. Like, we got to go find that guy and just
end the tape. We're not topping this year. Good night, everyone.
Oh my god, that's incredible. Like, that's so upsetting, but that's also incredible. Like, it's just.
Oh my gosh.
God.
It's a wrestling tall tale,
dude. If people are against comedy wrestling and need serious, I can't, because that.
All right, hold on. Let me ask. Dutch, I'm assuming you watched WrestleMania this year.
Yes.
What did you think? What did you think of the Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn match?
I loved it.
Right?
So did we.
I thought it was great.
It was like one of the best matches on the card.
Who had, like, forget Johnny Knoxville, who had like Chris Pontius and Wee Man and just the Jackass crew in 2022 on WrestleMania. Like, if you said they'd be on like WrestleMania 18, like, okay, sure, but 38, it just I might like my 13-year-old brain can't comprehend it.
I've heard people say that Wee Man slamming Sami Zayn was the Hulk slamming Andre of our generation.
It really is. If you think about it.
I think it trumps that moment now.
I think it does too. I think that is a much bigger WrestleMania moment.
I think so. I mean, when you think of pro wrestling, you think of Andre the Giant getting slammed by Hulk Hogan. Mm-hmm. Now, it's Wee Man slamming Sami Zayn. That's what it is.
That is pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, there was also Cesaro slamming Big Show out of the ring.
That's not as impressive as Wee Man.
Nobody remembers
out of here.
Nobody remembers that.
You just like to talk about dudes slamming big dudes. Yeah, and I know how that sounded, and it's gonna stay on the pod. So there you go.
I'm
not opposing.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious that you think I'm gonna edit anything except start to finish. And
that's it.
You're gonna hear the Raw's War music in the beginning and the end, and that's it for editing.
That's a wrap.
Basically. That's how we talk about Caldors for 20 minutes.
Why would I cut that?
But we'll get to that later.
So I guess, like, now I know you're saying you're kind of you're working on your character, you're kind of doing your own thing right now. is there anything exciting coming up on the horizon that you can tell us about?
Let's see. So going back to the West Coast in May, which I'm excited for West Coast Pro Wrestling, which they're getting a lot of buzz right now. They just had one of their shows last week featuring, I think, Minoru Suzuki.
Wow.
Did you just say Suzuki?
Yeah, it's Sky. You just got Skylar hard right now,
Yes.
just by mentioning his name.
Oh, good.
I fucking love Suzuki. I fucking love Suzuki.
He's
Who do you
great.
think? Who do you think wins in a fight, Brock Lesnar or Suzuki?
Like a shoot fight?
I mean,
That's a good question. I mean, because there are rumors that Suzuki is affiliated with the Yakuza, so
I shouldn't be that surprised.
yeah. So I mean, he could probably just kill him. I would assume. I'm sure he knows a thing or two of how to kill somebody and make it seem like it was an accident, or make it seem like this person never even existed in the first place. And I'm sure that he could do that to Brock Lesnar. Make sure Brock Lesnar never existed in the first place.
That'd be pretty hard to do
So
for a guy who's
basically,
won
it's
a
not
UFC
existing
heavyweight
in the first
championship,
place.
WWE championship.
nope. Wipe it from the records.
It basically never exists in the first place. Versus if he's gonna want to fuck you, you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah, 100%.
And
I agree.
that's Brock I'm talking about.
The important thing we've learned about this is that as long as there's just no asshole yelling, chanting rape in a crowd, we're okay.
We're all good.
Man.
We're all good. And I haven't met Suzuki, but Brock Lesnar is one of the scariest men I've ever encountered in my entire life.
Oh, he's a real life Viking. So
It's insane. Because that's the thing. It's like we're the same height. He weighs less than I do. I look like this, and he looks like that.
Yeah.
One. But I met him backstage at, I don't know, somewhere. But very nice. Because I've known Paul Heyman for a while, and he was the one to introduce me and everything. It was very nice. But
exclusive breaking. Dutch is a Paul Heyman guy.
Yes.
Yes. We got a new Paul Heyman guy alert?
Yes, I have a Paul Heyman guy. Yes. So when you are an extra for WWE, they don't give you a locker room. They either give you a tent, put you in a random bathroom somewhere, or just kind of give you a closet to go get changed in. This time was a
Sounds about
bathroom
right.
that I was in. And I'm just sitting in there minding my own business, and all of a sudden the door just swings open like somebody kicked it open. And Brock Lesnar's just standing there. And I'm sitting on a bench on my phone. I look up and like we make eye contact. And we're not saying anything to each other. And I'm like, what the fuck is about to happen?
Oh my God.
Are you trying to assert dominance?
Oh, I think that's what it was, because I cowered real quick. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing this. And then he just left. He stood there for what seemed like 2 hours, just staring into my soul, and then just left.
Gazing into each other's eyes.
Yes. What it probably was, you probably just opened the door real quick, took a peek in, and then walked back out. But how I felt was like I was about to get murdered. Very, very scary, man.
Well, hopefully we can have Brock Lesnar as a guest one sometime. We'll ask him about
Next week, maybe next week.
it. Maybe we'll hear it. Yeah.
Brock, we know you're not doing anything right now.
Yeah.
Brock, were you threatened by Dutch?
Yeah. So it was actually. It was very scary.
No. I was saying we'll ask Brock if he was threatened.
Oh
by
no,
you.
I know. Oh, I know.
How long ago was that? What year were you doing extra work?
That had to be 2012.
Okay.
13.
Were you still well? How I guess I'll say, how long were you with FCW? And did you ever were you ever at NXT, or had it not switched?
So
By the time.
NXT, there was rumor of the switch happening while I was there, but it never did. They were still doing that crappy game show that they did
Oh yeah.
on Sci-Fi, which I was supposed to do one season. I was supposed to do the last season of it.
Oh.
Even filmed the whole intro and everything.
Do you know who your mentor was?
No.
Oh,
it
that
never
would have been
happened
cool.
until last minute they changed it to the all women NXT. That was
okay.
Oh yeah.
Makes sense.
That Caitlyn won that, or
I can't.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey.
That
Marcus,
was,
don't
from
talk
what I
bad about Sam's mom.
remember,
That's my girl.
from what I remember, it was me, Big E, Xavier Woods, Seth Rollins, Richie Steamboat.
Wait, time out. Big E still have a last name.
That
Big E
time-
Langston, yes.
That
There it
time he
is.
did.
There it is.
Big E Langston.
We're
Yes.
we're big
We're going
big
back.
fans of the Langston. We're big fans of the last names.
Big fans of
so-
Langston.
Oh,
big
yeah.
fans of the
I-
Buddy,
he's,
the guy needed 5. I don't know what you
Langston.
want.
I know. I get it.
Um,
He's a good guy. I'll tell a story about him because he mentioned it on their podcast, so I can talk about it now.
Awesome.
When we were down there, like I said, they would call us in to call matches on the fly. So one day it was me and Big E, and Norman Smiley pulled me aside and he's like, "Hey, I saw Etor getting changed before, and his underwear is riddled with holes. So do your best to pull his pants up to embarrass him, to show everybody how poor he is, or just how he won't buy a new pair of underwear." So we did, and I made it a point to, figure out a way to pull his pants off. And I did, and everybody laughed. So fast forward like a week later, round 2. So now we have that second match, and he's trying to pull my pants off. I know this sounds very
I don't see
Very
the problem
sexual.
here.
it's still wrestling. You can get away with it. It's fine. And he successfully took my pants off to show that I had no holes in my underwear. So we had to have the rubber match, and
The rubber pants.
Please
off
tell me it
match.
was like underwear on a pole or like ultimate underwear division match.
it should have been. But beforehand, like, I went over to everybody and was like, "Listen, when he's getting ready, like, geeing up for his comeback, start slapping his chest, everybody jump the railing and, just fuck him up." That turned into everybody jumping the railing and ripping off every piece of clothing he had on his body, and ended up with him just standing in the middle of the ring, completely naked, with his
Wow.
ringing around all over the place.
Wow.
Yeah, but the funny thing was, so a lot of the times there would always be a camera. Now, 9 times out of 10, it was always off, but you could tell by the red dot. If the red dot was on, that means it was filming. And of course, that day the red dot was on, and we were going to call about a half hour later from whoever was watching. Was so the office cut the fun from that. But yeah, that was good. Stripping him ass naked in the middle of the ring. That was good. That was fun.
Man, that's
Wow.
hilarious. That's awesome.
That's a great Biggie story, man.
I've been involved in some bizarre moments.
I
First,
know.
first a dude pulls out a gun to end a match.
And then they're stripping some other dude naked.
Yeah, quite a few.
In there talking about rape.
Yeah,
I know. I know you mentioned Seth Rollins before, and I know. I think Dennis mentioned to us that you were rooming with him while you were in Florida. Is that correct?
I wasn't rooming with him, but we're very close. And still to this day, I talk to him almost every day. But we were just very good friends, and we hit it off almost immediately. Because he came down, he was like the first guy that they hired who made a name for himself outside of WWE on the independents. He was still Ring of Honor champion when they hired him. So his first day there, like, I think everybody was either, intimidated and kind of like, this guy's trying to take my spot. So nobody really hung around him. But I was a big fan. So I was like, oh, I love this guy. Like, I think he's great. So I went over, I offered him, I was like, hey, if you want to take a ride to the show with me this weekend, more than happy to. So he did. And yeah, we've been friends ever since. But yeah, no, he's a great dude. We've been through a lot together, which is, even to this day. So
That's really cool, man.
yeah.
There's a story, isn't there?
I mean, I wanted to ask, but I was trying to be polite, but since Skylar did it, any
I'm
cool
not
stories?
polite.
Yes, there are. So anyway,
Fair enough.
So when he first got down there, every Wednesday was promo day. So we'd have to cut different promos, all this and that. He'd be cutting the same promos every week. The same, like, I'm the best wrestler here, yada, yada, yada. You've heard the same song and dance a million times from a million different people. Like, he just switch it up. At that time, I was kind of doing just kind of like comedy stuff, just random comedy stuff during every Wednesday. So Dusty pulled him aside at the end of one Wednesday and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna pair you with Dutch next week. I want you to come up with something like to kind of get you out of your shell." So he told me that, and I was like, "Okay, let's just get as weird as possible." So that's what we did. The promo was, or the skit rather, was we are both dancing in the middle of the ring, both wearing vests. I'm wearing a white shirt underneath my vest. He's not wearing a shirt underneath his. We're both dancing. And he says, "You know what? It's getting a little hot in here. I'm going to take my vest off." He takes his vest off, and I'm like, "You know what? It is getting hot. I'm going to take mine off too." I take mine off, and it shows that my nipples are bleeding from my white shirt. So he stops me from dancing, and he's like, "Hey, dude, like, your nipples are bleeding." And I'm like, "What do you mean my nipples are bleeding?" And I look down, I'm all embarrassed. "Yeah, well, yeah, my nipples are bleeding." And he mentioned something. He's like, "That's only a problem that women have." I'm like, "Well, I got a secret for you." And I proceeded to tuck everything between my legs and pull my pants down to reveal that I am a woman. And that was the skit to get him out of his shell.
That took a
I
turn. I didn't
gotta
know where
say,
that was
man,
headed.
very creative.
Hats off. Hats off.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
God.
Wow. Okay, so now we got to get Brock Lesnar on the show, and we got to get Seth Rollins on the show. So
Absolutely.
Right. I have questions.
I have all sorts of questions. What does Becky think about all this?
Well, from what I was told, so after I had gotten released, a guy by the name of Rob Naylor took over as like the guy who like the coffee runner for everybody. He told me that he was told to take all of those DVDs and burn them that they were on, which he did not. He did not burn them. He saved them.
Oh man.
But they are in storage somewhere, and he doesn't know what storage unit it's in. It's either in Philadelphia or it's in Florida. So
Oof.
two big difference.
Man.
Yeah, but they're there. They
One
still
day.
exist.
One
That's for a
day.
fact. One day.
I'm sure they'll come out of the vault someday.
This Man
Just
Podcast presents
to
Traveling
whoever-
Legacy
To whoever needs to hear this, tell us where it is.
Where are they?
It's been like, if there's no, I know there's no statute of limitations on shit like this. It's not, it's technically not nudity. I mean, you don't really see anything, but tell us where it is.
Yeah.
We want to see it,
Yes.
please.
And
I'll tell you what, if it ever does see the light of day, we will present our own watch along, and we'll invite you back on the show to come do commentary
Yes.
with us.
Yes, please.
There's a lot of them. That kind of like, like it opened them up a little bit. So every Wednesday we would just come up with different things to do. So there's a lot of weird out there skits that we did. So,
And then it's like you look at him today with what he's doing now, and it's like, hey, like he's like, obviously he's still a serious wrestler, but there is comedic parts of his character now. And hey, he never comes out of his shell. Who knows if we get this?
yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is some of the best stuff he's done in years, because it's just so completely different than anything that's out there right now. And like I said, you go back and look at his stuff from 2009, where it was the white meat baby face, follow me, I'm the leader of pro wrestling promos, to whatever the hell he's doing now.
Yeah.
I think it's great, and it goes to show that he's constantly evolving, and that the wheel is just constantly spinning in his head. So
I have one other Seth question.
hmm
So you talk to him regularly,
Yes.
as you said. Did you talk to him after Hell in a Cell?
The most recent one?
The Fiend one.
Oh,
um,
oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that
That.
that he was not happy with, from what I remember.
I can imagine.
I'm trying to think. That was the one where he kept.
It ended in a DQ. I think that's like.
Yeah, because I think his main thing is he was pissed off that it didn't benefit anybody.
No, it didn't. Yeah.
It didn't benefit anybody. Like
Right.
nobody benefited from that at all. Like you could have. I mean, you made the Fiend into a monster, but you could have easily had the Fiend come in there and do what Brock Lesnar does: kick out of everything and hit a finisher, and that's it. You made a monster out of him.
Mhm.
You know, giving him 10,000 chair shots to the head and the back and the chest is not going to do anything. You know, I mean, I guess it's going to show you that this is a different supernatural type character that they have, but in this day and age, you gotta present the audience with some type of realism, and that was just a little too much. And like I said, did not benefit anybody.
Right.
So I think that was his main concern, is that nothing. There was no need to do that match after it was done.
And to slightly pivot off of that, have you actually interacted with Bray Wyatt? Because when I saw your Dutch promo when you were eating the cereal with the beer out of the pot, which I have questions about later, I kind of got like not the Fiend, but like the the Waylon Jennings Bray Wyatt vibe off of that.
Yeah. So yeah, he's like, so everybody around that era, like that's who I came into FCW with. So we were all very close. A lot of us were all very close because it was kind of like the last group to actually go out there and like kind of live that fun wrestling lifestyle that you hear about. You know, we weren't doing drugs, but we were going out getting shit faced every night, going to strip clubs, and having a blast. Now that doesn't happen. But yeah, all those guys. Ray, I haven't spoken to him in about a year or so, but yeah, he's another one that I got along right away with him. We both share very similar interests. Both, he put us in a room together, and it's pretty much the same person.
Well, it's from my understanding, talking to Dennis, that and I'd imagine the same for Bray, you were a big horror movie guy.
Yes. Very big. Very big.
Any in particular that like you think might have been an influence on the current Dutch character? Well, somewhat current.
Yeah. So I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
Yeah. Obviously, that's
one of my favorites.
Where you start out is like I said, the big stoic guy who doesn't talk much, who can take a beating and give a beating twice as bad back. But it's developing into toward the end of Ring of Honor, we were evolving into something pure is what we were doing. We dressed in all white, had white suits on and everything, and did all this because Ring of Honor at the time was supposed to be pure wrestling. So with the mind games and manipulation that these characters bring upon everybody, we were trying to manipulate people into thinking that we were pure, and that's by dressing up in these white suits. So by doing that, brought a little bit more character out of me, out of everybody, I think, out of Bateman too, because Bateman was never really a big talker until we started doing this. And yeah, I mean, there's different movies, different types of characters, a lot of serial killers too. Like you look at a lot of like, I mean, we watch a ton of Charles Manson interviews and stuff like that. And I mean, if you take one look at Vinny, that's pretty much yeah. So it's kind of a mix. We're kind of again, trying to figure out who we are, because I just want to just keep evolving into something different. And I think, like I said before, I'm at that point where I'm taking this character and mixing the two together, mixing fun Bill Carr with creepy serial killer Dutch. That's my goal right now, is to blend the two together to kind of form one. And I think that's where I'm heading right now. There's a few more things that I kind of want to work on, but that's where we're going. So
I think it's interesting because I think like watching the Detective Bill Carr matches, you obviously have a lot of charisma. Like you obviously can you like I could see it just in the matches, and I haven't had a chance to really hear you cut an actual promo.
Yeah.
But just in the matches alone, I can, I hear you kind of jawing at the Young Bucks, which is, that's what they do. So it's, it's awesome that you kind of come play it right back at them. And, that type of crowd too is perfect for that. But just like you could see it in the faces, you can see it in the way you move in the ring. Like you have character, you have charisma. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see you mix the creepy with that funniness that you had with that, because like you could just tell that like Team Tremendous, it was, you guys had like a fun kind of comedy kind of kick to you, but like you guys could work, and that was like what made it really cool. So like I think that if you incorporate that creepiness in there too, it's going to be really interesting to see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you watch The Devil's Rejects, like
another one of my favorites.
Yeah. So like, as messed up as that movie is and how that family is, a lot of stuff that comes out of their mouth is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the dialogue, like when they're talking to each other and everything, where they're just talking shit about each other to each other. Like
Tutti fucking fruity.
Yeah, those moments are hilarious. But at the end of the day, there's still these psychotic murderers.
Yep.
That's kind of the whole goal that I want to get with this character. Kind of with all of us together. We can be that kind of family that we stick together. We're fun loving when we're together. We talk shit about each other, but when it's time to kill, we fucking kill,
That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's a great.
It's a great mix. I feel like you don't see it a lot. You either go one way or the other, either the funny or the serious.
Yeah, and I think that's how pro wrestling is like it's either one way or no way. You're fixated on this one thing that you want to do, and if the righteous thing doesn't work out, I can always go back and do the Team Tremendous thing. So I always want to have something in my back pocket where if this doesn't work, then I can always go back to this and kind of evolve this.
And I know, and actually I was going to bring up was it kind of like a natural thing to maybe not, I won't say split it up, because listen, it's wrestling. People can come back together. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But, and I know you and Dan Barry had a match kind of like to blow off Team Tremendous, at least for now. Mm-hmm. Was that kind of a natural thing that came up? Was it planned? Be like, hey, I'm doing this righteous thing. We got to end this.
Not really. So I told him, like, he knew about me, Ring of Honor being interested in me prior to this, when it actually happened. So it really wasn't that big of a shock when it did happen, but it did come out of nowhere. And I'm terrible with kind of being like, okay, I got this deal. Now I got to break up with this guy. It's like it's legitimately like you're in a relationship and you need to break up with this person. And I haven't done that since high school. So it's crazy. It was weird, but we're both still good friends and everything. Yeah. But I mean, at the time during the pandemic and everything, we weren't really getting called for any bookings or anything. So this opportunity came up and obviously jumped right at the chance at it. So actually when I did tell, like I said, I was just trying to figure out a way to tell him. Dan had texted me one day and was like, hey, I reached out to AEW to see if we get booked on Dark. Is there any way you'd be able to fly down to Jacksonville next week? And I'm like, shit, fuck.
Hmm.
Well, now I have to tell you. So then it was like, hey, funny you bring that up. I just got hired by Ring of Honor. So sorry, I can't do it. But I mean, at that point, they were. If you wanted to go wrestle for AEW on Dark, you could go wrestle for AEW on Dark. So it really wouldn't have benefited us anyway. I don't think, at least. You see a lot of the guys that were featured on Dark regularly during the pandemic that are nowhere to be found now.
That's true.
And who knows? I mean, we might have. We could have benefited from it, but I feel like I chose the right path to go down. Like I said, I've been wanting to try this for a while, and it's good to kind of switch things up from time to time because we've been doing the same thing. I would like we would the last like year and a half we'd be putting the same exact match together. So like I wouldn't even need to be there. I could just go out there and just do what I do every match, and that got boring to me. And once wrestling stopped being fun, that's when you stop wrestling. And it was getting to the point where wrestling was not fun for me anymore. So this came along, and now I'm having fun again. So
well,
that's all
good,
that matters. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I think you realize that when you get older, it's not all about, like, hey, this is cool, but hey, fun. That's where it's at.
There's nothing worse than being a miserable pro wrestler. There is nothing worse than that.
Yeah, I when I was on my way out, like I knew I was on my way out. And it was funny because like old time wrestling was closing down, and I just I was like talking to my partner Andy, my tag partner I mentioned earlier. I was talking to him about it for weeks in car rides about how I was. This is probably going to be my last season. We have like a big show in June that we do, and then we kind of take break and only do like once a month shows instead of doing them every week, just because it's too fucking hot in the building to run shows every week.
Yeah.
So but towards the end I was talking to Andy in the car every week about like I'm gonna have to let them know soon that like June's probably gonna be my last show. And then like the beginning of May, Brian Johnson tells us, hey, we're closing down the school. We're still gonna run shows from time to time, but we're closing down the school. And I just like turned to Andy. I was like, well, I guess that kind of makes that easier for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But
easy breakup.
Yeah, it was like I had that feeling where I was just like it felt like more like a job than fun, and like I wasn't being paid like it was a job. So it wasn't worth it for me anymore. And I had a lot of fun doing what I did for the time that I did it, but I knew when I started I wanted to be done by like 30 anyway.
Yeah.
So and it was, the school closed like right after my 30th birthday. So I was just like, I kind of, when I came into this, I said 30. It just kind of worked out that way.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So
I know we're kind of jumping around time wise, but shit just pops into my head.
So that's how this podcast works.
It is. Like I said, we actually
rhyme or reason.
I know. And we did our research, damn it. We never prepped for this shit. We did it. So to jump back, I guess towards the end of FCW, do you kind of, is it one of those, like did you see the writing on the wall that they're going to let me go? Like what, I guess, like obviously that chapter came to an end. So what happened? How were you let go?
Like, let me tell you.
Is it
so?
Oh, this sounds like a story.
It's a story. Wow.
There's a story.
I don't know if you've noticed the people who have been released in the last like 5 or 6 years.
Go back to episode 2 or 3. Trust us. We know.
Yeah, we've talked about
it. We did a whole episode on that.
Nobody says a positive thing about working for that company. It's a mind fuck is what it is. The whole time you're there. And I wake up every day on my way to training, like, oh shit, this could be my last day. We could get fired at any given moment now. So they had motivational speakers come down and talk to us for a day. And when they were done, they split us up into 2 groups, one motivational speaker with one, the other with the other. And they asked us, like, everybody wants to get something off of their chest. Like, what do you want to get off your chest? So when it came time for me, I told them, I was like, listen, like, I don't know if I'm getting fired or if I'm going to be around for 10 years. This place is just, they make you seem like you're going to get fired at any given moment. So he came up with some bullshit thing to say, whatever. But there was a woman in the office who was there who pulled me aside and was like, "You have nothing to worry about. Like, you're good. You're fine." So I was like, "Oh, great. That puts my mind at ease." Fast forward about 3 weeks later, the guy who hired me, his name was Ty Bailey. He came down and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna give you a raise. We're gonna start giving you $1,000 a week, as opposed to $500 a week." So
All right.
I'm like, "Holy shit!
right.
Okay, this is good.
All right.
This is good." And he was like, "We know you can do the Bobby Dutch character. We want you to figure something out on your own. Do your own thing now." Like I said before, I'd get emails every week of them explaining to me what they wanted to see from me in promo class and house shows on a day-to-day basis. And I was doing everything that they told me to do. So I get this raise. They tell me to do whatever I want. So again, I wanted to do like this Dutch type character, like a Devil's Rejects type character. So I think I made it a week. I did one promo, wrestled a match. That Friday, it was me, name drop here. It was me, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose, the original Shield. We went to the beach and we were getting something to eat at some restaurant. And we noticed that main roster cuts were happening right at that moment. Now, normally when main roster cuts happen, developmental cuts, you're good to go. Like, nobody's getting cut down in developmental. So we were like, that sucks for these guys, but we're okay. So we go on about our day. We're drinking some beers on the beach, having a good time. I'm laying on my chair. All of a sudden, my phone rings. It's about 5 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting next to Rollins. He looks down. He looks at me. I look down. I look at him. It's from a private number. Now, this is either my parents calling me from their house phone or I'm getting fired. And I pick up the phone, and it's like, "Oh, this is so-and-so from WWE. We're going to put you on a conference call with John Laurinaitis." I'm like, "Fuck, okay." And
Hey
sure,
there, Dutch.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
It's like,
Jesus.
"Yeah, we got to let you go, but we want you back. I don't care if it takes 3 months, 6 months, a year. We want you back here." So I was like, "Well, why are you
Why are they letting
firing
you
me?"
go?
Well, we
What?
don't really have an answer for you. So I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, what's going again?" It's a mind fuck. So toward the end of that conversation, I was like, "I'm just curious, like, what's the reasoning behind this?" He said, "Well, we really didn't see enough of yourself in your work." And this is after them emailing me for a year and a half, telling me exactly what to do. And I did everything that they told me to do. And their excuse is they didn't see enough of myself in my work. And that's when I got fired. Mind fuck. That's why everybody hates that place.
I mean, I feel like we've all kind of heard similar, like, kind of stories, but we're hearing them through dirt sheets, through third sources, stuff like that. Like to actually get a firsthand account on really how rough that is. That's wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I was, like 22 years old at the time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still a kid.
Yeah.
I got my dream job, and turned out that it's not what I expected. It's not a fucking big lavish place where you could go and make millions of dollars. It's a fucking garage with 2 rings, no AC, and a bathroom that kind of works sometimes. That's what the WWE is.
Circle it back around.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Truly,
essentially,
it truly feels like it could be like any corporate job. They blow the same
Yeah.
smoke up your ass and
Well, that's
then
the
go, yeah, sorry, you're laid off.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, it's one of the biggest corporations in the world,
Oh yeah.
and I mean, I get it that that's how certain businesses are run, and they've been successful doing it. I mean, I think the pandemic was the biggest money year that they've ever had,
Yeah.
so
And they
they
still
they
fired
released,
everyone's ass.
exactly, they released
Right.
half of their roster,
Yep.
so
It's
that's and then I started doing extra work again, and actually the woman that I saw who told me everything was fine, that I had nothing to worry about. I did run into her like a year later and saw her, and she just like burst into tears. And she was like, I honestly had no idea that
Wow,
was
really?
Wow.
yeah. So I was like, okay, at least, you know, I believe you because you're crying.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
All right,
but
come on.
that's
You better cry. You better work them, damn it.
Maybe she was just taking a few of those promo classes herself.
Yeah, maybe.
Learn how to give her a little scratch shit. Oh shit, he's coming.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is rough though, man. I can't imagine having to just walk on eggshells all the time. Like, because I imagine that's what it felt like. I feel like
Oh, yeah.
you had to be
But
like,
I mean,
you know,
that was like the majority of people. Even the coaches. Like the group of guys we had down there, Dr. Tom, Norman Smiley, like they're like two of my favorite people of all time. And Dr. Tom, who trained The Rock, trained Kurt Angle, trained some of the biggest wrestlers in the world. They had, when Bill DeMott took over, I was already gone at this point, but it was kind of already happening. Like Bill DeMott would be showing up from time to time. So you kind of figured like something was up, but you didn't know exactly what it was. The cops were called to have Dr. Tom escorted from the building the day he got fired. So he found out he got fired from 6 police officers that walked into FCW to remove him from the building. And then that happened, and then Bill DeMott walked right in.
wow.
Yeah. Real fucked up place.
Like
If
they
you told me it was
didn't call
Bill
him or
DeMott,
nothing.
if you told me it was Bill DeMott getting removed by cops and being told he was fired, I would have believed you more.
Yeah. I don't know. That guy, he
That's
must
insane.
have some real dirt on higher ups in that company, because there is no reason for that guy to be brought around anybody ever. And they did it 3 times with him.
And so you experienced him a little bit, and not to, not that I want to get into it, but if you experienced him at all, like we've all read, what happened and why he was let go. Like, is it exaggerated or is it like this? No, this is legitimate.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's exaggerated.
A little embellished.
Please don't answer if you're not comfortable.
Probably is. Oh no, I'll answer anything.
You don't give a fuck.
Dude,
Yeah.
we got our first guest, and it's literally the best guest of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, the way it was, like, I remember reading it, and the way it was worded was just like using words that can mean something way worse than it actually is. But Bill DeMott is not a good person, and I'm glad he got fired. But that's the same thing. He was a person who liked to fuck with people's heads. And when I was in FCW, like, there was a lot of guys there who weren't wrestlers to begin with. They hired guys, ex-NFL guys, models, whoever.
Kind of like what they're doing now.
Yes, yeah, they shied away from that, and now they're going back to it. But Titus O'Neil, very nice man, awful wrestler. Just never got it. Never got it. But he's a sweetheart of a guy. And I understand why he's still employed at the company, because he does a ton of charity work and he's a good hand to have. But after training for 10 plus years and just not getting any better, like, he's just not good. And Bill DeMott saw that as soon as he got there and wanted to get into his head. And that's what he did. Unfortunately, that day that he got into his head, I was paired up with Titus O'Neil doing drills. So one of the drills that he had was we would just lock up and I would take a bump. Lock up, take a bump. So everybody would do it once in a circle, and the next person comes in, does it. Me and Titus get together and lock up, I take a bump. Bill's like, nope, that wasn't good enough. Do it again. Over and over. And at this point, Titus is getting angry and frustrated and getting into his own head, where his lockups start to become real and they hurt. And he's really throwing me to the ground. and I got a pretty bad concussion from them that put me on the shelf for like a month and a half.
Oh,
And that's all because of Bill DeMott, because he got
Wow.
into his head and he knew he had to his head. That's what he did. So yeah, he's an asshole.
well,
Alright.
good to know that
Jesus.
the right man got fired. Bad to know
Yeah,
that
right.
it took so goddamn
Yeah,
long.
it took a while, man.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
Yeah. Yes, it did.
So you weren't around when Matt Bloom took over, right?
No, that was, I think Bill DeMott was still there when the Performance Center became a thing, I think.
Right, he was.
So yeah, I wasn't there for the Performance Center.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would make sense.
Yeah, that was about a year after I was already gone.
And then listen, it's come a long way. And then here we are today, Dutch character,
Absolutely.
technically a champion, whether or
Yeah.
not Ring of Honor's doing anything, technically a
Tony,
champion.
Tony,
doesn't that
you have your trio
doesn't that
titles right
technically
there.
make him like a AEW champion, an ROH?
I
You
don't
know,
I
know,
mean,
guess.
listen, say
I'm
what
not
you want.
I'm not giving the title back. Believe me, they're not. they're
you just
gonna
want to know
pay
what's
me
up.
for it or give me something for it, so I'm not giving it back.
Generic question I just want to ask.
Mhm.
Favorite person to work with, least favorite person to work with.
Let's see, favorite person to work with. I mean, I'd go ahead and say like, Seth Rollins, probably one of my favorites to work with, but I'll think of somebody that isn't as popular. Okay, so random person. One of my favorite opponents ever is Romeo Roselli. I don't know if you remember him. The
name-
Heartthrobs.
Oh, it's like that
Wait, what?
name.
Okay.
It's like it rings a bell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
No, it is ringing a bell for sure. Now
Yeah,
you
mid
brought
mid
up the heartthrobs.
2000s. Yeah.
Mhm.
But he was a guy. He's just a muscle model guy. I started working for a few companies when I got released, and would do a bunch of loops with him where we'd have matches, 3 times a week for 2 or 3 months straight. And right from the start, we just clicked, and he's one of the best guys I've ever worked with. I don't think he wrestles much anymore, but he's a lot better than what people would imagine. He's one. Ricky Shane Page is another guy. I don't know if you know him. He's a Ohio Indies. He's been on AEW Dark a few times, but he's
I
one
think
of my
that's where I know the name.
Yeah. Least favorite. Let's see. Titus O'Neil.
O'Neil.
That's one. Jinder Mahal is another one that I.
Oh no.
Oh no, we're gonna have
No.
an angry fan.
Yeah.
Oh man, our buddy Tom, who is another member of our podcast network here. He does he has a show that he does on Call of Duty, appears on a few other shows as well.
That's
is
really
a
funny.
huge Jinder Mahal fan. You're gonna upset him
And we all
terribly.
don't get it.
I mean, he's trolling, to be fair, but
yeah, he's not even a wrestling
still,
fan, but
it's still gonna be funny when he
Yeah.
hears this.
Yeah, he's not one of my
That's
favorites.
hilarious.
How does someone like that become world champion?
You're asking the wrong
His
person.
heritage.
I know
No
and that was kind of
We all know,
rhetorical, but at
like,
the
we
same
know the
time, I'm
answer.
just venting right now.
I have no clue. That was a big shock to everybody. So
Yes. And
Well,
he held it for so long, and they basically ruined Shinsuke Nakamura.
yeah.
Well, I know
100%.
I know it's getting late. I don't want to keep you too much longer. So I guess Skylar asked his question. I'm going to ask my question here, my fantasy
Listen,
question.
I don't. You could keep me as long as you want. I got no burden here. I'm good to go for as long as you want.
Mike, you're the host. All right, I'll let you control.
Say no more. Please.
But anyway, all right. Well, how about an opponent you haven't wrestled yet that you would love to get in the ring with? Any dream matches for you?
Jay Lethal.
Oh, that's a
Okay,
good one.
good
That's a
answer.
good one.
Good answer.
Jay Lethal is top of my list right now. I've been a fan of his since I was going to Ring of Honor shows in 2002. And so before Ring of Honor shut down, I guess I could talk about this now because it's never going to happen. So we were doing that, like I mentioned earlier, we were in the white suits doing the pure thing. So our whole idea, and this was going to happen, everything was all mapped out. We were going to manipulate Jay Lethal into joining the group. And it was supposed to be Vinny versus Jay at Final Battle, with the stipulation that if Vinny beats Jay joins the group and helps Vinny win the world title. Okay. So that was the plan. We were going to do that, where he was going to come in and we were going to have a feud with the Foundation, which he was the leader of. Mm-hmm. And I think the three of us, me, Bateman, and Lethal, were supposed to originally win the 6-man titles.
Wow.
And then Vinny going on to win the world title from Bandito, I believe, was supposed to be the opponent at the time. But that obviously didn't happen. But Lethal has been a fan of ours since we started doing this, and he's had our backs, and he has our backs right now. Like I said, we're in a good position where we could potentially be brought in, hopefully soon. And yeah, he's number one on my list. Is
wow.
Jay Lethal. Oh, the other guys, I forgot to. So favorite opponents, the Briscoes.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
Briscoes are yeah. Briscoes are one of my favorites.
Yeah. I could see why.
Yeah, right. I mean,
yeah.
Obviously they're well known. Legends.
It's just a good ally to have on your side. Jay Lethal, that dude's a man.
Yeah. I say it's like same thing. Like when I first kind of caught ROH, like I didn't actually go to a live ROH show until Mike, me and you went to my first ROH show was when we went on WrestleMania weekend.
Oh, yes.
But when I first started catching ROH on TV, the first time I saw Lethal, I was a huge fan. Lethal, Adam Cole, like those, like when I first kind of got into it, those were like two of the bigger names at the time. And like those are probably from that era, like them and Ciampa were like my three favorite when I first got into ROH, and they're probably still my three of my favorite today.
Yeah.
But
no, they're all awesome.
Yep.
I feel like it's been said a bunch of times, but obviously you came into Ring of Honor, there was no crowds. I feel like it's been said a million times throughout the pandemic, but what is it like? What is the big difference, or, better, worse with no crowd versus the people? Obviously the obvious, but your firsthand experience of wrestling in an empty building.
So the big difference with me was there's no adrenaline, and you get tired so fast because there's not that crowd to, hearing the crowd, as cliche as it sounds, hearing them being into a match, it gets you going, it pumps you up. And you mentioned earlier that match with Matt Taven that I had. I hate that match. He hates that match too. So when you are not wrestling in front of a crowd, you can edit whatever the hell you want and make it look however the hell you want. Ring of Honor doesn't have wrestling, the people who know wrestling doing their editing. It's like a film crew that does it. So they don't know what to look for and what to use, what not to use when editing these matches together. So that match that we had, me and Taven, if it was in front of a crowd, it was a different match. What you saw on television is just chopped up shit that doesn't make any sense. The whole story of the match was great, because it was built around me being this big monster. And there was one moment in the match where I'm kind of on Taven the whole time. He gets a little adrenaline, starts kicking my ass a little bit, hits me with 3 quick dives in a row, throws me in, hits me with his frog splash finisher. I kick out before the 1 count.
Yeah,
And
that
that was
moment was in there.
that yeah, that was in there, but the story leading up to it was not, which pissed me off. Because that was supposed to be, like one of the first people to kick out of them. And the way that they edited it just made it look like shit and made it not make any sense. And like I said, if it was in front of a live crowd, it would have been completely different. But yeah, the adrenaline and the way that you edit stuff in front of a crowd, those are my two big takeaways from wrestling in no audience. They both suck.
Right. I bet. And
yeah,
obviously the crowds are back now, thankfully, but
yeah.
When ROH did close, and before Tony Khan announced that he was buying them and everything else, when they announced that they were closing and they were firing all the wrestlers, were releasing them from their contracts, was that a huge surprise, or was that like something that you guys knew was coming down the pipe too?
So how did you find out about it?
The internet, Facebook.
So did I.
Wow, that's basically what I was asking. So yeah, wow.
Yep. So before any TV tapings that we would have, we'd have a conference call, and they would go over the same thing: COVID protocol, be here at this time, yada 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 yada. Same thing every time. So it was no different. It was the same thing, and I had to go back to work, so I turned my phone off. Little did I know that once that happened, just shit hit the fan, and they brought the president from Sinclair Broadcasting, I think, on to let everyone know that they were releasing everybody from the contracts. If you were under contract until 2021, that's when your contract was ending. If you were under contract past 2021, your contract ends April 1st. So when I was able to turn my phone on, I got about 50 text messages from people like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what happened with Ring of Honor? And I'm like, what's happening right now? And I look on Twitter, and that's the first thing I see. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is insane that I'm finding this out. Well, I think they put that message out on Twitter during the meeting that we were having. So they didn't even tell us yet, and there was people on the call that saw Twitter and were like, can you explain this, please? Like, what the fuck is this?
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever get anything afterwards? Did anybody ever say anything like, hey, this is why this happened? Or did it was just like, bye-bye?
Now, I heard, before you answer that, I heard like Sinclair financially was in some deep shit in general.
Yeah, so, I mean, the rumor I heard was they had some deal with MLB that they were supposed to take all the rights for MLB to show on their Fox Sports channels that they own. MLB wants to start their own streaming channel, so they cut that deal. Sinclair essentially spent the money before the money was there. But aside from that, the Ring of Honor themselves, they were just not good with money. I mean, they rented out these giant arenas just to fill them with production equipment and make it, with these nice screens and everything. Like, that's a couple $100,000 a day worth of production equipment to rent. Plus, you're renting out these big arenas and you're not filling them. You're not selling tickets because you're not having any fans there. You essentially do what we were doing inside of a warehouse, inside of a garage for that matter, for 90% less of the price. They're spending way over budget, hundreds of thousands of dollars to rent things alone, not even paying us on top of that. But that's just on the ring rentals, the production rentals, the arena rentals every day. And we're there for a week filming television. So how do you expect to make money when you're not bringing in any revenue, but spending all your budget on nonsense, essentially? And then even when it came time for was the Best in the World, I think was the first live pay-per-view that they had in front of a crowd. Ticket sales weren't doing too well because at that time I don't think people were really kind of comfortable being in big crowds, but they still rented out a 7,000 seat arena, filled it with maybe 1,000 people, looked like shit, and you're not making any money. So that's where their downfall was they just spent way too much money for no apparent reason at all. Like I said, you could have rented out the ECW arena and done that for half the price.
And it's
do you think
funny
that was
you say
specifically the pandemic related? Sorry, Mike. But do you think like if it wasn't for the pandemic, ROH would still be running just fine today, or do you think they were kind of already on a slope?
I have a thought on that.
I have my own opinion. I mean,
yeah, I don't know, honestly. That's like an up in the air question because, like I said, started to kind of go in a different direction toward the end, booking wise and everything. But if they kept going the same way that they were, like their television show, for example, like they had 2 matches every TV episode. That's it. Just 2 wrestling matches. You need more TV time than that, or you need to build people. They never built stars. After the Young Bucks left, after Cody left, after Adam Cole left, after with the whole thing that happened with Marty Scurll, they never built any stars. And I think that was another one of their biggest downfalls. And I don't think that it would have gotten any better if they did stick around. Right.
And I feel like Ring of Honor's track record since they started was they had consistently built stars who then moved on. But the last couple of years, it just wasn't there. And from a fan perspective, I was kind of out on it after all those guys left. And also, I was never, again, I mean, this is just me rambling, but I was never a fan of just the TV format itself. They would have a pay-per-view, and then the very next show would have zero mention of the pay-per-view. It would take a couple weeks of TV before anything that happened on pay-per-view is even mentioned when you're trying to hook people in. And there's, it's like, we taped this a month ago, so we have nothing to say about it but join us in like a month and we'll get to it.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense. And the thing that really bothered me too is, so say we would be featured on one episode, have a quick little, minute vignette. Then you wouldn't see us for 6 episodes. By that time, you forgot anything that we did, anything that we mentioned, anything that was planned. Like you forgot and you moved on to the next thing because we haven't been seen in 7 fucking weeks. And it's frustrating. It was frustrating, and it's still frustrating.
I mean, 2 things. One, to Mike's point about not building new stars, I think it got so bad. You know whom probably was my favorite ROH guy the past couple of years? PCO. Like,
and
no offense to PCO. I mean, that's a hell of a comeback story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But like when you're,
is he as out of his mind as he comes across?
100%.
God bless him. The other thing I wanted to bring up is me personally, as a fan, I felt like something was going very wrong, and there was some writing on the wall with the Garden show with New Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know much about that. I was supposed to go to that, but I wound up drinking heavily instead, and
like you do,
as one does.
But I don't know the whole backstory with that and everything. But I believe that they announced that show with the intention of thinking the Young Bucks were going to be there, Cole was going to be there, Cody was going to be there, all these guys were going to be there, and then they leave right after it's announced. So then it's kind of like, oh shit, we got to scramble and try to put something together, So I think that, again, going back to, they had time to build new stars. And they just never did.
I don't think they anticipated having Jay White versus Okada as the main event.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh.
Well, listen, here's
And
to,
I love both of those
Mm,
guys, so
yeah,
no disrespect
yeah.
to them.
No,
yeah.
but
No, yeah.
ROH and a New Japan card, you want to see an ROH guy going against a New Japan guy in an event, I would think,
Yeah.
like that kind of would make sense.
Or just
Especially
have
with Madison
Suzuki murder
Square
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Just have
Don't-
Suzuki
don't
come
put
in, just murder a
Suzuki in
bunch of
battle
people.
royal. Yeah, that was that's why would you put Suzuki in a battle royal? That's
He
Yeah,
wasn't even on Wrestle Kingdom.
no, that's right, it wasn't.
Yeah.
silly.
I mean, trust me, I popped as fucking loud as I could when he showed up in AEW after Moxley beat what was it? Shit.
Yeah, brain fart. It's all good.
I'm having a brain fart.
Skylar, you're our guy for this too.
I know.
I know.
You can tell us shit that happened in like
1996.
1990. This match, November 1st, 95.
I
Shit
need
was
an
like
answer
6
to
months
this.
ago.
Hold on.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah, right.
While Skylar tries to
Continue
remember
on.
that.
Yeah, right,
We'll-
exactly.
We'll continue
Um,
on while Skylar.
I
Oh,
guess-
melts.
Kojima. It's Kojima.
There it is.
Ah,
Oh yeah.
there you
Yeah.
go.
And then afterwards, you hear Suzuki's music and Moxley's in the ring going, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I guess I have
Okay.
to. I
This
guess
is
I gotta
happening.
get. I guess I gotta get the shit beat out of me. All right. I guess I'll go to one last thing. So I don't know if you're consistently on it, but I know you were on the first couple shows for Control Your Narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what it's like, you see some of the guys there. Is it just being fed up with corporate and just we want to do our own thing and just have these shows and do our own thing? Like what? How? I guess. I mean, you're involved from the start.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that happen? And I guess your whole the Righteous as a whole is in that. So how does that come about? With you guys kind of linking up.
Yeah.
Control Your
So
Narrative.
the whole original idea with that is at the start was, like you said, guys who have been kind of screwed by the bigger companies looking for a chance, because EC3, he was the guy that when I first got to FCW, me and him hit it off right away. So he's one of my best friends, and he's been wanting me to do something with him for a long time, and vice versa. So he obviously knows the way everything works and the way everything was when I got released and everything. So he knows that I've been fucked by WWE. A lot of the guys have been. A lot of the guys that were there are kind of lifelong extras that are given the opportunity and like, hey, this is your shot, but we're not going to give it to you.
Right.
You're just going to keep coming back and just keep, dancing like a monkey for us, pretty much. It's evolving into now people who haven't gotten a shot anywhere. Like a lot of guys, he's giving a lot of opportunities to a lot of people. If you want to reach out to him and ask for a shot, he'll give it to you, no questions asked. If you want to show up to a show, he'll book you on the show, no questions asked. But that's essentially what it is, and I know it's been getting a lot of bad buzz because of the show in Dallas that we just had was run in a venue that was being used by another company, which I won't name, but you could easily look it up.
Say no more.
From what I gathered, that company called the venue to try to have Control Your Narrative removed from the show because they were running at the same time. But this venue is enormous. There's 3 giant rooms that can fit thousands of people in each room. So it wasn't going to interfere whatsoever.
Right.
Venue refused. All of a sudden, a Reddit story comes out about Control Your Narrative being backed by these super right-wing crazy conservatives that people just jumped on and started to believe, when none of that is true at all. And people are starting to say, oh, well, the way things are worded, the way that everybody talks, it's, seems like it's coming from like a QAnon website. If you go back and start watching this narrative stuff from when EC3 had it 2 years ago, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
This is just him. He's not a crazy conspiracy theorist or a crazy right-wing guy. It's if you took Fight Club and put that with Chikara. I don't know if you ever watched Chikara before.
Uh-huh.
Skylar knows
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
about Chikara.
Oh, yeah.
You take Fight Club, you take Chikara, you put them in a blender. That's what control your narrative is. People think that this is people, that we're taking this too seriously, that, believing all the bullshit and everything, which is not true. It's just stemming from this one story that somebody made up and then somehow blew up and thousands of people jumped on its back. But I think Braun and EC3 are kind of like feeding off of that. They're doing a good job.
Say Adam Scher did some weird interview. I feel like you're about this.
Yeah. So I mean, they're both live shows that they've had were both sold out. So, and that's with all of this bad press and everything that they've been getting. So I don't know. I think it's just stick around for the ride and you'll eventually see that it'll, hopefully work out. And I think that, with the announcement of Austin Aries, when they announced him for the show, they kind of got a little bad press, which rightfully so. Great guy. I like him as a person.
Is he just like kind of like has a short fuse or something?
I don't know. I you know what? I don't know him. I've just met him only for a few months ago, and very.
Because I've heard, like you said, I've heard he's a nice guy, but then you see him do stuff like when he lost the in Impact to Johnny last name and just sold his finisher, got up and walked out.
Yeah.
And then I heard his attitude in WWE wasn't that great, but then again, going by what you've told us, whose attitude is great.
Right.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And I love Austin Aries. I think he's
a great wrestler. He's awesome.
One of the best.
But like I said, I think that the announcement of him and it's kind of like, EC3 wants to give him a second chance to kind of
which is fair,
redeem himself and kind of brush off what like the bad shit about him. I mean, not brush off like whatever allegations were against him or whatever, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
right.
It's not like you're bringing in Joey Ryan and having
Alberto Del Rio.
Exactly.
Please don't.
Yeah, it's not like they're bringing in these guys to try to give them a sob story, like a redemption story and everything.
Right.
It's. I don't know. I hope it works out. I'm not booked on these shows coming up because I'll be in San Francisco, but they are coming to Jersey soon. I don't have an exact date, so yeah. I mean,
not far from here.
Yeah, no.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, right. If it's
right, you are in Jersey.
Yeah, Mike lives in Jersey.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll find a way wherever.
Absolutely.
Let's check it out. I'm always down to check out a new show, so let's check it out.
I mean,
listen,
it's
listen. You tell them North Jersey, so it's strictly convenient for me.
And we're good. Strictly.
Absolutely.
Honestly,
not near Philly. Don't do any of this. Like, it's
oh, you mean like where OTW was down in Williamstown?
Oh my God, I'm already in New Jersey. That was still 2 hours for me.
That's so. Was that at where the H2O school is?
That's same building.
I hate that drive. That is the worst drive.
I did that drive every weekend for 6 years.
Oh my God.
From Poughkeepsie, New York, by the way.
Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a shit ride.
Oh, dude. I mean, I'm grateful that I had a tag partner to ride with who, my tag partner, Andy, he lives in Wappinger, so we would always ride together. He's the one that got me in. We went to high school together. We were buddies a long time.
Mhm.
So I'm so grateful I had him to ride with, because I guarantee you there way I would have done that 6 years by myself.
Fuck that.
By the
No
way, you keep
way.
talking about Andy as your tag team partner, yet you stole a championship from him, literally.
Hey,
and we
got
did a
off,
podcast.
we started off on bad terms, and then we became tag partners. That's how
that's
things
right.
work.
Oh,
Better
that's right.
friends
When we-
become better. You
Oh,
know.
damn it. I remember, because when we first did this podcast and we were journalists, right? And we
Yeah.
always, and we would,
like in 2013
Yeah.
when I was
yeah,
still
we
wrestling.
can, we can do this, guys. We watch wrestling every week, which we don't now.
Yeah.
That's why we can't talk about. That's why we can't talk about current stuff all the time. No, yeah, you were like feuding with them while we were recording. We would always
And
put something.
I
in
would
that
cut
podcast
promos on
about
them
it.
on the old podcast.
Yes.
I would just be like, Andy, I'm gonna beat your ass this week too.
Oh man, I gotta go like find an old computer. I gotta see if I have those files.
Oh man.
They're
be
still
lost.
on. They're still on Apple. Trust me.
What?
Nope.
Oh, bro.
Oh yeah, I've listened to some of them in the past couple of years.
Oh, you
Oh
got
man,
it.
I might have to go back and visit.
Yeah, you got to send me that if it still exists. Listen, I mean, anyone else? Some final thoughts.
One more
This was
thing.
awesome.
I got one more thing to say, because it hasn't been said yet, and our listeners might not know, but we are actually recording this on Dutch's birthday. So I want to wish you a very happy birthday,
It
Dutch.
is my birthday.
We just made it too. It's 11:58 as we're
Yeah.
chatting right now.
Right on time.
Well, cheers. It's
Bad it
What-
couldn't be a day
like,
earlier.
cheers.
What-
Happy birthday
wow.
to me.
What else? I mean, what else would you rather be doing on your birthday than talking to
Then
three
talking
dudes?
to three
talking to
schmucks
three
from
dudes
Dixie.
you've never met on a podcast that hopefully this gets us more clicks and
This is
listens.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, you don't.
You know what?
don't-
I get to listen to it, so
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
You don't know our numbers.
We
Trust
might
us,
get
We don't know our numbers either.
This is fact.
we might double our listeners. We might get 7.
No,
There are-
I
There
don't know what you're doubling to get 7, but we're gonna do
Yeah.
it.
Somebody
are
that's been
dozens
cut
of
We
in
us.
got
half.
3 fans and a little person.
Yeah.
There are dozens of us.
The dozens and dozens of millions of fans.
I went with the Arrested Development one. I forgot all about the Mick Foley. No, man. Listen, thank you so much. This was awesome. Thanks for hanging
Thank
out
you.
for all this time. Like I couldn't for the first guest. This is just fucking awesome to just bullshit and shoot, for 2 hours about anything.
Yeah.
This was
absolutely.
awesome. Seriously, thank you. Thanks to Dennis for hooking this up. I know we said a while back we we're going to do
Cashman,
this.
thank you.
So I'm
Yeah, fuck
glad we finally hooked up and got this recorded. This was awesome. Anytime, come back anytime. If you're
Yeah,
ever,
please.
We'll watch
I'd
along
love
with
to.
us soon.
Yeah. If any of those matches you were talking about ever show up
right.
on the
We'll have
internet, we
to-
are inviting you back for some
I'll
watch
keep,
alongs.
I'll keep an eye out. I was hoping that one of them would somehow make it into that FCW documentary they had a few years ago,
Oh,
but
yeah.
Oh man.
didn't, unfortunately.
but we'll have to come back. We'll be not that we're ever professional, but we can all we can just get high, have some drinks, and bullshit about anything. We didn't bring up we didn't bring up old 90s stores. We didn't bring up, I think on the last episode I asked, I don't know how it came up, but I asked, how does cat dog shit?
I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. But
That's a fair
Yeah.
question.
But do you see,
'cause,
like this might be
is-
the most professional show we've had. Like
It
we
was- it
haven't
is.
gone off on those tangents yet.
I had to take
No,
I
that's
had
a,
to
I mean,
burn it to
that's
the
a,
ground
that's
at
a,
the
that's a
end.
valid discussion there.
Well, seriously, thank you again for hanging out and listen, this was awesome. I hope everyone enjoyed
No,
this.
thanks for having me.
We're on Apple, we're on Spotify. Hit that subscribe button. We're on Instagram at Not Stupid Podcast Network. We're on Twitter, Not Stupid Podnet, but I never tweet at that.
At least
We're terrible. We're terrible with socials. Clearly, like we just record.
I've been sorely lacking, and I.
It's fine.
apologize.
It doesn't matter. It's all good.
I somehow have a feeling that
It
this one's
does
gonna get
matter
pushed.
if we use
Also,
those.
shout out EC3 for liking the Instagram post that I put out yesterday promoting this.
Oh,
Which
there you go.
promotion?
if you
That's
want to
weird.
come on the show.
Come on in.
No, I'm sure he would. He would. Listen, he likes any type of promotion. So
Hey, we're in.
we'll talk
Put in a
afterwards.
good word for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen again. Thanks. This has been Six Man Tag. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye bye.
See you later.